There is a version of you that has been waiting your entire life, waiting for the right moment, the right job, the right relationship, the right amount of money in the bank. And here is the part that should terrify you. That moment was never coming, not because life is cruel, but because of something your brain has been doing to you since the day you were born. Something so quiet, so invisible, that you have never once noticed it happening. You call it patience. You call it planning. You call it being responsible. But there is a name for it in psychology, and once you hear it, you will start seeing it everywhere. It is called the arrival fallacy. And it is the reason millions of people spend their entire lives standing at the edge of a life they never actually enter. Let's start with a simple question. When was the last time you felt like your real life had actually started? Not a moment of happiness, not a good day, but the feeling that this is it, this is the beginning of the story you were meant to live. If you're struggling to answer, you are not alone. Most people can't answer it either. And that silence, that inability to locate the starting point of your own life, is the first clue that something deeper is going on. Here's where it gets strange. Studies on long-term goal achievement have found something almost cruel about the human mind. When people finally reach the thing they've been chasing, the promotion, the marriage, the graduation, the number on the scale, the feeling of arrival lasts only a few days, sometimes hours. Then the brain does something unexpected. It doesn't celebrate, it resets. It starts scanning again immediately for the next milestone that will supposedly make life finally begin. This isn't a flaw in specific people, it's a mechanism built into all of us. And once you understand why, you will never look at your own ambition the same way again. Your brain was never designed to let you feel finished. Evolution didn't build you for contentment, it built you for survival. An early human who felt truly satisfied, who felt like they had arrived, was a human who stopped searching for food, stopped watching for danger, stopped striving. And in a world of predators and scarcity, stillness was death. So your brain developed a system that constantly generates a subtle, almost invisible discomfort. Not enough to paralyze you, just enough to keep you moving, keep you chasing, keep you convinced that satisfaction is always one step ahead. That system still runs today. Except now there are no predators, no famine, just an empty apartment at 11 at night and a mind that still whispers, not yet, not yet, keep going. But here's where the story turns darker. Because waiting for your life to begin isn't just a psychological glitch. It's a survival strategy your mind uses for something far more uncomfortable, avoiding the present moment entirely. Think about it. The present moment is the only place where you have to actually face your life as it is right now. Not the improved version, not the future version with the better job or the better body or the better relationship. The version that exists today, unfinished, uncertain, sometimes disappointing. And for many people, that version feels unbearable to sit with. So the mind builds an escape hatch. It projects meaning into the future. It says, real life starts when this happens. And suddenly the present doesn't need to be faced. It only needs to be endured. This is where something almost nobody talks about enters the picture. Waiting for your life to begin isn't really about ambition, it's about fear. Fear of discovering that even when you get everything you think you want, you might still feel exactly the same. Empty, searching, unfinished, because if that happens, there's no external explanation left, no excuse. Just you and the uncomfortable possibility that the problem was never the circumstances at all. That thought is so threatening to the mind that most people will spend decades avoiding it, without ever consciously realizing that's what they're doing. And this is where the psychological trap becomes almost architectural in its cruelty, because the human mind doesn't just delay gratification, it compulsively manufactures new finish lines the instant an old one disappears. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. You get the raise, and within weeks your baseline resets and a new number becomes the new enough. You get the relationship, and the anxiety doesn't disappear, it just changes shape, worrying now about losing what you have instead of obtaining it. The goalpost was never fixed. It was never meant to be caught. It exists specifically so that you never stop running. Some researchers believe this pattern intensified dramatically with the rise of modern digital life. Because now, every single day, you are shown thousands of curated glimpses into other people's arrived lives. Vacations, achievements, relationships, bodies. Your mind, which evolved to compare itself constantly to a small tribe of maybe 150 people, is now comparing itself to millions. And each comparison quietly reinforces the same message. You are not there yet. Someone else already is. Keep waiting. But here's the twist almost no one expects. The people who appear to have arrived, the ones whose lives look finished and complete from the outside, report the exact same internal experience you do. The same restlessness, the same sense that satisfaction is just out of reach. There is no evidence anywhere of a human being who reached a level of success so complete that the waiting simply stopped. Which means the arrival you're chasing might not just be difficult to reach, it might not exist at all. Let that settle for a moment. Because if it's true, if there is no finish line where life finally begins, then everyone who has ever lived, every historical figure, every billionaire, every person you've quietly envied, has spent their existence in the exact same waiting room as you. Different scenery, same room. So what do you do with a species-wide psychological trap that has no exit? This is where the story stops being about anxiety and starts being about something almost spiritual. Because the people who eventually escape the waiting, and some genuinely do, don't escape by finally reaching enough. They escape by dismantling the entire premise. They stop asking, when will my life begin, and start asking a far more disturbing question. What if it already began, and I simply wasn't paying attention? That question is uncomfortable because it removes your excuse. If your life already started, then this conversation you're having right now, this ordinary, unremarkable moment, is not a waiting room. It's the story. Not the prologue to the story itself. Ancient philosophers understood this long before modern psychology gave it a name. The Stoics warned against living entirely in a hypothetical future self, a version of you that exists only in imagination and therefore can never actually be reached. Existentialist thinkers went further, arguing that meaning is never handed to you by a future circumstance. It has to be built deliberately inside the moment you're already standing in, or it never arrives at all. And this is the deeper, more unsettling truth hiding underneath all of it. This was never really about achievement, or money, or relationships, or timing. It was about your relationship with the present moment itself. The waiting was never a strategy for getting somewhere better. It was a way of avoiding the vulnerability of being fully here, fully accountable, fully alive, right now, with no external event left to blame for how unfinished it still feels. Because the moment you stop waiting, something genuinely frightening happens. You lose your excuse. There is no more, when this happens, then I'll really live. There is only now, imperfect and ordinary, and the terrifying responsibility of actually inhabiting it. Most people will never confront this. They will keep pursuing the next milestone, quietly convinced it will finally be the one that makes the waiting stop. And in a strange way, that pursuit isn't meaningless. Growth, ambition, striving, these aren't the enemy. The enemy was always the belief hidden underneath them, the belief that life is somewhere else, somewhere ahead, somewhere you haven't reached yet. But life was never ahead of you. It was always exactly where you were standing. You just kept looking past it, waiting for permission to finally begin something that had already started the moment you opened your eyes this morning. So here's the question worth sitting with long after this video ends. Not, what do I still need to achieve? But this. If nothing else ever changes, if this exact life, exactly as it is right now, was the whole story, would you have noticed you were already living it?